right. Well, welcome back to Saturday Night Chit Chat with Freekbass. And gosh, I told you, man, keep getting better and better every week in 2021. We've had amazing guests, of course, but I'm super excited to have this gentleman on. Got so many questions for him. And first question is, well, first off, everybody, please give it up for Mr. Corey Glover. You may know him from a little rock group called Living Color. How you doing today, Corey?
Good, man. How you doing, Freekbass?
I'm doing great, man. It's so I always start off the show the same way. The show started right at the beginning of the pandemic back in March of 2020. So now we're 14 months in or whatever it is. What have you been doing for the last year and a couple months?
I've been home, primarily educating my children. They've been going to school remotely, so I've been trying to facilitate that and help them along with that. So I've been in my house with them, and it's given me an opportunity to do a lot of things with them that I couldn't do before.
Sure, right. So
this has been a blessing as far as I'm concerned. It's horrible with what's going on in the pandemic and all that stuff, but this was a really good time. My kids are in high school now, and
yeah,
I'm not going to get an opportunity like this ongoing where I have a time to really spend some time with my children. So
right.
This was really, really, really important time for me, and really, really good time for me.
Yeah, it seems like everybody, I mean, that's the general consensus with everybody, especially touring musicians, is that it was almost kind of like a reset in a way. I mean, obviously there was, that's the silver lining out of this with so many people. Now, are you still in New York right now, Corey?
I live just outside of New York City, yeah.
Okay, got it. And you grew up, I mean, you're born and grew up Brooklyn, right? Is that correct?
I'm from Brooklyn. I lived in New York City all my life. Wasn't until I started having kids that I decided to move out of the city. First of all, I couldn't afford to live in the city.
Sure, right.
But more importantly, I wanted my kids to have a backyard and some fresh air, So beginning of early 2000s, I moved out here to the Hudson Valley from New York, and it's not too far from the city. I'm an hour from the city, either way, as the crow flies. And so I can get in and out whenever I need to. But given, the technology and all that stuff, I can do most of my stuff here.
Right, of course.
In my house. I can, I did a couple of sessions. I did this thing with Charlie Benedante from Anthrax. They did a version of Living Color's Funny Vibe, and I did it from home. I did it from home. So
nice.
I did something recently where I did have to go to someone's home studio, but for the most part, I've been doing most of the studio work and session work I can do from here.
Right, of course. That's great.
Yeah.
And then did you from, I always wanted this with singers, especially someone that's just so talented like you are with your pipes that you have. Did you know from a pretty young age, oh, wow, I can I sing a little bit better than some of my friends do around. Was it pretty obvious from a young age, or was it more a later developed thing? How old were you figured that out, and how did you figure it out, I guess?
I've been singing since I was 6 years old. And part of it was sibling rivalry. I tell a story. My brother, who's almost 10 years older than me,
yeah,
was the singer of the family. He was quite talented, and this is, primarily in church and, local talent shows and that kind of stuff. So
sure,
he was always singing and getting a lot of attention for it.
Yeah.
So, as the story goes, it was some Easter Sunday, and my brother had some major sort of solo he was doing at church. Everyone was patting him on the back and giving him accolades, and I told my grandmother, I can sing too. Now mind you, I'm 6 years old, and my brother's 15, and
right.
And she was like, "Oh, really? You can sing, huh?" So I sang for her, and she's like, "Wow, that's not bad."
Yeah.
So Easter dinner, everyone's sitting around the table talking about how well my brother did. And my grandmother pipes up and says, Corey can sing. I mean, really, Corey can sing. and it was on and popping from there on, basically.
Got it. And then when did you start, you know, getting your, dipping your foot into like acting and theater and stuff like that? Was that like not long after that, or was that more like a high school thing?
It was like high school. Like
Yeah.
I had gotten a summer job working at a day camp,
Okay.
and this theater company came through to do a production in our camp, and they needed camp counselors to supervise the kids. I happened to be one of those camp counselors to supervise the kids, and got the bug then. And I, like, after that summer, I got an agent and I got a manager, and I started doing commercial work. I started doing, you know, television commercials.
Oh, nice. Anything that we could see or like could pull up on YouTube or something like that? Yeah.
There's one for the armed forces about the GI Bill.
Oh, nice.
I don't know where to find it. For folks in the New York City area, although you can find it on YouTube, there was a commercial for the Children's Aid Society where I played the drums, actually.
Oh, nice.
And so, and I did stuff like that. I did what was it called? Anyway, I did this pizza quick sauce, Ragu pizza quick sauce. I did it.
Okay.
Commercial. And Emmanuel Lewis was my co-star in that commercial. That kind of stuff.
Wow.
And I was doing like that, and I was like auditioning a lot for Broadway stuff. And,
yeah.
And because I was singing, and you know, and that I was going to school for musical theater, so it was all a part of that whole thing.
Did you go to like the New York, like the performing arts school in New York in high school?
I went to one of the performing arts schools. Like there are several in New York City. Yeah. Everyone knows about performing arts, and everybody talks about, you know, performing arts, but I went to the other one called Talent. Nice. You know.
Got it. That's awesome. And then were you doing simultaneously, even in high school, were you doing like any, like, you know, bands, you know, like rock band type stuff with you know, playing parties or any of that kind of stuff?
I was in like vocal groups in high school.
Okay.
That never got out of you know, singing in somebody's garage or basement or in the hallways of the school.
Okay.
Basically. And I always wanted to be in a band. I always tried to get into bands. There were other people. When there was a part of my high school career where I was in my high school's jazz band. I was the singer in the jazz band.
Oh, nice.
And so
doing like jazz type standards, you know, like that kind of stuff.
Basically, all they were really doing was trying really hard to do Stevie Wonder's covers really badly, and I was there to sort of like fill in the blanks.
Right. Got it.
So that was my real sort of that was my education.
Cool, awesome. And then, like, in your before, you know, even Living Color like kicked in, did you you know, like in your mind, were you thinking like, you know, when you were seeing down the road a little bit, were you thinking like, you know, more theater, more movies, more rock band? I mean, you know, life happens, I understand, but what, you know, did you have a kind of an aim at that point, or did it just kind of all kind of happen?
I had several different ideas happening all at once.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in a band. I wanted to be on Broadway, or do a movie and have a movie career, maybe move out to LA.
Yeah.
I wanted to get an education as a commercial pilot. That completely fell through because everything else sort of came into play.
Yeah.
I was looking for a lot of things to cover, but what was always there, and it had always been there, was my singing. So.
Right, of course.
But you know, I got work as an actor, and I was really looking forward to doing more work as an actor, and I was still trying to do work as an actor, while simultaneously doing what, you know, has always been there, which is, again, the music.
Yeah.
You know?
And then, like, how long? Okay, so you were obviously, I know you got the part in Platoon, and was that like about the same time that you like met Vernon and Living Color? Like, was that all kind of happening simultaneously, kind of?
It all happened at the same time, basically.
that must have been nuts for you at that point, wasn't it? Just crazy.
It was crazy. I had auditioned for the band, and it was because they didn't have a singer.
How'd you meet? Well, I'm assuming Vernon's the first person you met. How did you guys meet?
I met him at a birthday party. I met a friend of mine was throwing a birthday party on the Upper West Side, and Vernon was there with his sister, who was her friend, and we kind of hit it off. I sang "Happy Birthday" to her exclusively. That she wheeled out a cake, and everyone was around, and she said, "Nobody sings Happy Birthday. Corey sings Happy Birthday." So I sang Happy Birthday for her, and Vernon then approached me, and we struck up a conversation. Turns out he lived like 6-7 blocks away from me in Brooklyn, and a couple months later he called me to audition for his band, and I auditioned, and he said, "Okay, it's up between you and this other guy."
Yeah.
I said, "Cool, no problem. And I'll call you in a couple weeks." Weeks went by, and then I got a call saying, "Our singer can't do the gig. Can you fill in?" So obviously I didn't get the gig. Somebody else got the gig.
Oh, got it.
And fortunately, that singer never came back. He just decided that he didn't want to be in a band. This was what he was doing was what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I became a permanent fill-in. And things were starting to go. We were starting to get more gigs, and things were starting to happen. And then I got a phone call from my manager saying they are looking for somebody to replace somebody else in Platoon. We're working it all out. We'll send you all the information. We'll call you back with all the information. We're working out. You may have to leave at the end of the week. This is a Monday call. So I said, "Okay, fine." They called me back again and said, "Okay, you've got the part. Congratulations. We're just working a few things out, trying to get everything together. You make sure that you have your shots, and if you don't have your shots, we'll get your shots when you're there. But you're leaving on Wednesday." Okay, we'll call you right back. A couple hours go by. They call me back. They said, "Okay, everything's set. Everything's ready to go. You got to leave tomorrow."
Yeah.
So I got the part on a Monday. I was on a plane on a Tuesday. I was in the Philippines with a shot the movie.
Oh, wow.
For 3 months the next day. So,
was that your first time out of the country? Had you been out of the country before?
I've been out of the country before. I'd never been to in the Pacific, someplace in the Pacific.
Sure, right.
I've never gone that far west. I'd gone to Europe and stuff like that, but I'd never been to the Pacific Islands. And
right.
So it was definitely culture shock. It was major culture shock.
Yeah.
And it was fish out of water. And when I got there, when I got to the Philippines, it was I didn't have much time to sit around and observe things. I got there, they put me in a hotel for a day and a half, and they immediately took me out to boot camp. And we spent 2.5 weeks in boot camp. We learned how to be an Army infantry platoon. Dug our own foxholes. We took apart M16s and M16 machine guns. We learned how to do ambushes. We did patrols. We did all that stuff. I went through it where people got sick, people got dysentery. In a bit of foreshadowing, while I'm cutting brush with a machete, I cut myself on the leg, and where it required I get stitches.
Oh wow.
It was like work. It was really work. It wasn't
sure.
It wasn't Hollywood at all.
Right.
And I was there for 3 months, and I came back, and fortunately for me, the band was still around, and they still wanted me to be in the band, and and the rest, as they say, is history.
Did you guys, I know you were gigging and stuff like that, did you guys do a lot of demo stuff for
Absolutely.
First album? Yeah.
Yeah. We made demos for a bunch of people, and so there was a lot of time in the studio just hashing things out. We got a demo deal that might have gotten us a record deal, and it never really worked out the way we wanted it to work out.
Yeah.
We did that a bunch of times. You know, we knocked on a lot of doors.
Sure.
Really, for a relatively long time.
And then were you like, I'm sure obviously playing a ton in New York City, but were you like guys doing any even touring, even like regional touring at that point, or was it pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, we sometimes you play in colleges out of town, so we go up north to some of the colleges, some of the like Haverford, schools out in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I think the furthest we went out was, where did we go to? We went up to Maine. Played that, like, before we got signed, we were one of the many opening acts for signed artists. Like Big Audio Dynamite was playing in Boston and in New York, and they had a bunch of unsigned bands as their opening acts, and we happened to be one of them.
Nice.
We got some exposure. You know, there was a little bit of buzz about the band before we got signed.
Yeah.
And then, thanks to some of that buzz, and our now bass player Doug Wimbish, he helped introduce us to Mick Jagger.
Right. Because Mick, didn't he produce a lot of your first record, right?
He produced a couple of tracks. He produced some demos. You were talking about demos.
Yeah.
He produced some demos for us that got us a beat, basically. Yeah. And based on the fact, not just that, this band might be good, but they got Mick Jagger on their side,
Right. Sure.
And that was great. Like he came to see us at CBGB's. We played at CBGB's a lot.
Yeah.
And love CBGB's. And we played there a lot. He came there one night with Jeff Beck to check us out. And seemed to be impressed, and asked if any help he could give, he'd do it. And he said, "I'm doing demos at the studio in the city. Yeah. Why don't you come by when after hours, and we'll demo up some tunes and see what happens." And that's what we did.
Nice. And then, so once you guys, I know we're jumping timelines a little bit here, but once you guys, go and record that first record, and once that popped, then you pretty much were on the road pretty hardcore at that point, then, right?
Pretty much, we got the deal, and we knew that that's what we're gonna have to do. In order for this to work, we're gonna have to work.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to load up a van with our gear and go everywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere we can go to. And we did. We went from, all up and down the East Coast. We went out west. We played Bogart's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We went, our strategy was, let's find the CBGBs all around the country. Right, sure.
Play those.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And that's what we did. So we were out constantly. Like, we were always in a van, driving to wherever, driving to Chicago, and driving, like, it was no flights. We weren't flying anywhere. We were driving.
Yes.
And and we were doing that for like a year and a half. And we never really got on a bus, like a real bus. We had to do the tour in a Winnebago, which was the worst ever. It was the worst. Like, you couldn't sleep in that thing, even though it had a bed in it. And as hard as you tried, because the suspension on those things were usually shot, and they were
right.
around. And the first time that we were on a proper tour bus, basically, was on the Stones tour in 1989. Like,
wow. So even like, you guys were even doing the MTV thing and all that kind of stuff, and you're still doing the van thing at that point, huh?
Still pretty much doing vans and alternate transportations. Like, we still couldn't afford to get in a proper bus.
Yeah.
We got in some of the shittiest buses ever until the Stones tour. We had one bus before we got on the Stones tour, and it was the worst.
Wow.
The air conditioning never worked. It was just a piece of crap. So
Yeah. That's crazy. Well, let's kind of like semi zap ahead a little bit. Now, during the whole time of not just Living Color, but all, you do so many projects from your own project. I know you did a stint with the Galactic for a while. I mean, have you always been kind of keeping one foot into the theater / movie world a little bit too as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was doing like a lot of independent films, some very like small productions of stuff, like doing like theater festivals, film festival stuff, stuff that you'd see in those kind of venues. I did this musical called Fallen Angel that was doing downtown here in the city, and I did Jesus Christ Superstar.
Right. I remember
Wild.
that. Yeah.
I did
Was that touring too, or was that just the city?
That was a bus and truck tour. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought. Yeah.
So it was like the best of both worlds. Like I was like a touring musician. I was also doing some theater stuff. So that was great.
Yeah.
And what's weird is like we played the Superstar played in a lot of places that I had done gigs in. Theaters I've done gigs in. So it was weird to be there in a whole different context.
Yeah, I bet.
So that was fun. I did a couple of indie films, Loose Women, and this Reunion. I did a bunch of things like that.
Yeah.
I did a pilot for a TV show. I was still doing everything I could, whatever came up, I wanted to do, and I got a chance to do. It was fun.
That's so amazing, man. That's so great. So I kind of always ask everybody that's on the show about this. Like I mentioned to you when we first started, how this kind of started at the beginning of the pandemic, and this question has been evolving because obviously things have been evolving since the beginning of the pandemic. And I know you guys actually are unique because you actually have some gigs on the books right now too. But where do you see, I mean, I know outdoor festival stuff, we're starting to see that pop up, but like, let's say, fall of 2021, heading into 2022, where do you think live touring is going to be at? Like, I'm talking about more like club type touring, not festival, but more like, club.
It really depends. It's really going to be about how people treat the idea of that this is a very tenuous sort of situation right now.
Right. Yeah.
If they treat right now a little bit better than they're doing right now, I think down the road we'll be back to 100% capacity. Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen right now, this very minute. I think within another year, I think we'll be back to normal. But it's going to take some time. It's a slow process. It's not going to happen overnight. I personally feel like I think the use of masks in venues is a necessity. I think audience members should be wearing masks. Yeah. Like 100% of the time. You could have 100% capacity and wear masks, and you will be completely safe. Personally. Yeah. I think that's the way it should work. That if you're coming to a club, especially as a small club, you hold 250 people, you should be wearing a mask the whole time. Yeah, that's I'm totally with you on that. And you can make it into the marketing, in my opinion. That part comes as come see Living Color, and you get a Living Color mask when you walk through the door, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And from now on, I think with the advent of wearing masks, I think communicable diseases like a cold and flu lessen. Like I haven't gotten this whole time. I had a cold when I got here, when I got home. Yeah. Because I was in an environment. So I was coming from the West Coast. My very last year, I was working with the Bowie thing with a bunch of alumni from the Bowie celebration, and I was on the West Coast, and I had to fly home. flew home, and I got a cold. It wasn't and there were no COVID symptoms. I knew it was a cold.
Yeah.
But other than that, from now until now, I have not really had any kind of cold or flu-like symptoms, and this was a tough winter, and I think the advent of wearing a mask and keeping my own sort of health in mind, it's easier. I know in a lot of other countries people wear masks because of the air pollution, right, and to keep themselves safe, but I think that I don't see why that shouldn't be a everyday sort of occurrence, that you do wear a mask.
Yeah, especially like flying, like close quarters, even like flying and stuff. I mean, a lot of countries that's been like the norm forever, like you said. So it's hopefully that'll stick over here a little bit too.
That'd be great if they did that. Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, well, let's kind of get close to wrapping up, and just what going into this next 6 to 8 months, kind of what do you have? I know Living Color's on a few gigs here and there, some festival stuff. Anything else you can share with us now?
Yeah, I'm doing Living Color's playing on the Summerlands thing with Everclear, Hoobastank, and Wheatus.
Oh, nice.
We're doing the Riot Fest in Chicago.
Yeah, I saw that. That's great.
We're doing some other festival. I can't remember the name of that other festival. But we're working. We're out there getting. Yeah. We're gonna be out there working. We were supposed to go overseas, actually go to South America this fall, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen until next year sometime. And this next couple of months is going to be fun. We're going to work out in July and probably in August and September and October. We're going to try to get some studio work in. We want to get a record out by next year, I think. We have this idea in mind, and we're trying to flesh that out. So we're going to figure out how to do that. We have an idea for a theme for this next album. We'll see how that works out.
Oh, nice.
And fingers crossed, everything will work out.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, man, you've had everybody I've had on. You have had just such a fascinating, just because you're covering so many areas. It's real fascinating. One of the things I bring up a lot, which I know you and I didn't talk too much about, but how much, one of the things that has happened so much in this pandemic is so many things have changed that probably would have changed anyway. And what I mean by that, in the, for instance, cinema and theater with the whole streaming thing, I mean, that was already starting to happen obviously before the pandemic, but now it's on steroids now,
Absolutely. I mean, the idea, what I thought was fascinating, and I'm glad this is coming back, is driving movies.
Yeah.
That was a dying art.
Yeah.
Basically. There are a handful around the country. And now, because of the pandemic, you can go watch a movie in your car.
Right.
And it's so much easier, and it's so much more convenient, and you don't have to worry about a lot of things. You don't have to worry about the company that you keep, because it's you and your car,
Right,
it's great.
Right, yeah.
Or that idea of watching theater in the outdoors, or seeing music, or hearing, or going someplace where you are not in an enclosed space.
Yeah.
In terms of entertainment. But yeah, the streaming services are, completely blew up because of this.
Yeah. It's nuts.
Because you could watch this thing. But, I still want to go into a movie theater.
Sure, of course. Totally.
I like going into a movie theater with nobody in it. It's fun.
Right.
It's you're watching it. Somebody's screening a movie for you. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, Corey, and I'm sure everybody here watching will be, can't wait to see you guys out doing it like in person. Hopefully the next time I see you will be in person. And, so, congratulations on all the thing you have on your career. I mean, it's just such an amazing career, and I know it continues to build. I remember last time, it seems like the last time I talked to you was a while ago. And if I'm imagining this, like, my blonde hair kicks in every once in a while, so it's probably that. But didn't you say something about you doing like a cooking show or something like that, or working on a cooking show or something?
I was developing a show about cooking, and with a couple of friends of mine.
Yeah.
That was about. It was like a travelogue sort of idea.
Yeah.
Me and a couple of friends going and checking out food in different places and making food and having, the camaraderie of, community and that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm still working on that to a certain degree. I'm working on a couple of things. That's my job. That's my thing. I have lots of irons in the fire.
That's great. Well, I mean, now, like, speaking of streaming, I mean, now, there's so many platforms for that kind of stuff now too.
Absolutely.
Which is great.
Absolutely.
All right, man. All right. Well, thanks again for being on the show tonight, Corey. Good luck with everything. Stay safe.
All right.
Good luck to you and your family, and we'll see you next time, brother. Thank you so much.
All right. Easy.
Take care, man.